Hello and welcome to United for Good. I'm Margaret O'Neill with United Way of Central West Virginia. I always want to say thank you to the West Virginia Library Commission and the Library Television Network for allowing us to be part of their programming. We hope you're having a great late spring, getting ready for summer. I just want to always take a minute to remind you of the service footprint of our United Way in case you're listening and you see us today and you may be experiencing the need for some kind of help or support. We want you to know where your United Way is. So we serve 6 counties: Kanawha, Putnam, Boone, Logan, Clay, and Braxton. And so by service, we literally mean that. We program with nonprofit partners about 37 different programs related to health, education, and financial stability. And then always worry about those safety nets to make sure there are shelters for people who need housing or domestic violence shelters, our safety nets such as food insecurity and child advocacy centers, and so much more. If you'd like to learn more about the United Way or how you can participate in any of our events or learn more about how you might be potentially funded, we want you to just reach out to us at the United Way's website, unitedwaycwv.org, and we're happy to talk to you about how funding works and how you could potentially be a funded partner of our United Way. Our theme for the last few months has really focused on the community partners that allow us as a United Way to do what we do, and to do that with as little expense as possible so that we can have some fundraisers, friend raisers, we can have some events that do community service, and then we can have some full-blown, wide open social event of the season type events. But all of those things happen because we're able to partner with sponsors, work with people in the community, and I can't tell you that I love any more the volunteer work and participation that we have with Encova and my good friend Sarah Slamick. So welcome to United for Good. We're so glad to have you today.
Thank you, Margaret.
I guess we've known each other almost the whole 7 years I've been in Charleston, which is kind of crazy that it's been 7 years, but I always like our guests to, be able to share with our audience a little bit about yourself. And, I know your dad, so I know you've been around the valley and around the city for a while, but tell us a little bit about yourself and how you found yourself at Encova.
Sure. So I was born and raised here in Charleston in the Kanawha City area, and you mentioned my dad. My dad has been a volunteer my whole entire life with different organizations, his church, and so that was really ingrained in me growing up through our youth group and outreach programs. And I've been in Encova now for over 12 years.
Oh my gosh.
And I tell people I have the best job ever. I really get to help with our volunteer program, provide opportunities for our associates to engage with our community through our sponsorships, through our foundation, provide fun opportunities for our associates. So we absolutely love partnering with the United Way and support all that you do.
I thank you for that. We love it that right? Whenever we have donors, it just matters to us that you do see it. Your boots on the ground. You've been standing in the office when the door opens and somebody comes in and needs assistance, or they are hungry and we need to pack them a little snack bag or whatever. And so that really matters to us that you see that we do provide, and it's not just asking for money and you never see what happens to it again after that. I have to talk about your dad for just a second because I have to quick plug for the rubber duck race. And so if you haven't bought your duck yet, quack, quack, $5 will get you entered into the great rubber duck race. It's coming up July the 6th as part of the Stern Wheel Regatta here in Charleston. And so the people sometimes think that you don't really win, like real people don't win when you have stuff like that. People ask us all the time, like, how do I know if my duck wins? And so the very first year we're pulling names out of the duck winners, and your dad won the prize. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am so tickled. I had met him at a Lions Club meeting. Our Salvation Army major at the time was part of the Lions Club, and Major Gilliam took me, and your dad was there, and it was just, he was very sweet then, and I was so tickled when he was able to win that prize. So people really
wonderful.
do win the duck race. Prizes really are given out, and Mr. Slamick really did win a prize, so that's great. I love what you said, and I just want you to touch on that another second, but it does matter when you see volunteer service when you're growing up, right? And so we talk about that with parents and teachers and organizations is, bring your kids to us. We do a lot of community service with Charleston Catholic because a lot of their kids need volunteer service, and so it's not uncommon to see 16 and 17-year-olds running around the United Way doing some community service for us. But it really does kind of get in your blood and make you want to give back for the rest of your adult life. And just talk about that a little bit more.
Yes, definitely. My dad's been a big influence, but also just the opportunities that employers provide. In COBA,
Yes.
for example, we try to find opportunities for our associates to partner with from a variety of different nonprofits, whether it's hunger insecurity, whether we do a food drive, we go up to the animal shelter and volunteer to walk animals, whether it's a sock drive. One thing that we partner with the United Way on is the Tools for School, back
Yes.
to school supplies, and our associates just stock up on those paper and pencils and backpacks, and it was really fun last year to come over and actually help sort some of those with the United Way. So we just love to get in and get dirty.
Yeah, and we couldn't do it without you. You know, that's a partnership among several companies and WCHS Television and the United Way. And we really got involved the COVID year because it was so hard for people to touch people, right? And
Yes.
so we started with a drive-by, drive-through, drop-off for school supplies and figured out that, gosh, people kind of like that. They didn't have to get out of their car. And we've incorporated that even in years since, that people can just drop off stuff at the United Way. And then the end result of that was the last night of the levee this past season. You know, we were there giving out backpacks to all those kids.
Right.
And it's really, when you see it full circle, right? Like your staff
Yes.
loves it, your team loves it to collect it. And we don't love it. I will not lie to you. We do not love to sort it. But then when you're standing out there and you see these kids who may, you know, no judgment, may or may not have had a backpack at home, but they got to pick out the one they wanted. We knew there was safe supplies in there. And at the end of the day, who can have too many pencils? Because I kind of have a pencil.
That's
I'm
right.
a pencil freak.
The other thing with our associates in this back to school drive is that they take their kids to shop for the kids in need. And we've done that the last few years with our kids. You know, what notebooks should we pick out? What pencils should we get? And they always have opinions on the best ones.
Yes.
So it's a great way to involve your kids in shopping for the back to school supplies as well.
And you're just duplicating what you did with your dad. Do they ask you why some kids need pencils? Like, do you have that conversation about everybody's
Yes.
not maybe as fortunate as we are to have pencils?
Absolutely, absolutely. And in some of the school districts where our kids have gone, they know that. They've experienced that. They have a full backpack, they have full pads of paper, pencils, pens, whatever, but other kids in their class have not. So it's been an eye-opener for them, and they love to jump in and help do that too.
Tough conversations to have with kiddos sometimes, but really good conversations, so for the understanding of all that. And the other place that we've worked together really closely, and we got a few stories to tell about this, but Dave Caring has been one of your favorites. It was the very first event I went to when I came as the new president of the United Way, and I don't know if you've ever heard this story, but it's hilarious. So we were still at the ballpark, kind of doing the breakfast thing, and everybody was excited for me to be there, and I was a nervous wreck because I knew there were a bunch of people there, and I was going to have to talk, and it was my first, like, literally 4 weeks into the job, and my predecessor was in the room, like the whole thing. My nerves were just
Right.
a mess. And so they had a place for me to park, and I parked my car and I walked over to the park, and about the time I walked in the gate, one of the team that was with me answered her phone. She goes, "Margaret, you left your car running, your purse is in your car, the whole 9 yards." And so thankfully there was somebody directed traffic that was like, "Look at the crazy lady who left her car running and her purse in the car and the whole 9 yards." So that was my jump street on Day of Caring. I stayed lost the entire day because I didn't know where any of the agencies were. But it quickly became, we often call it Christmas in September. It is a day for us that really brings everything we do together. The raising of the money with the nonprofit programs, with our volunteer community, and the huge difference. So if you're not familiar with Dave Caring, just a quick plug. We believe this is our 19th year. It's been what we believe is the largest volunteer organized event in the Valley and potentially in the state on most years. It did not take a break through COVID. We did virtual events. And the premise is this: we take partners, so people like Encova, banks, Jackson Kelly, all kinds of businesses and organizations, and we partner them with a nonprofit or a church. Sometimes it's a school, entities that are mostly not-for-profit or don't have a lot of extra financial support, and they pick a project, and we marry these organizations together, and they spend 6 hours together or so, team building with your team.
Absolutely.
But really making such a huge impact on the partner that you're with. And I can tell the stories, but I'd love to hear some of your favorite Day of Caring stories. And if you leave one to mine, I'll remind you. But
Yes.
it's coming up. It's coming up in September. It is always the third Wednesday in September. Applications for projects and partners will be online in June. So please, if you haven't heard of it, again, call us and we're happy to explain. Katharina Fritzler takes the lead on that from our team. You can find it on our Facebook or website, but it's a day you want to get involved in. We had about 1,000 volunteers last year on about 700, almost 800 projects. So it's a huge day for us.
It was so fun last year looking through all of social media and how people were posting their projects and what they were doing, the before and afters. It's been a lot of fun. And you know what? You don't have to have any skills.
That's exactly
you don't
right.
have to know how to paint or weed or whatever the project is. Someone is there to guide you. And our associates the last couple of years have done some painting, they've done some weeding, they've done some landscaping, just all kinds of projects, and they have so much fun. And I call them my volunteer squad, because if we have something of an urgent need within the community or within the office, I will send a note and say, volunteer squad, I need your help. And they are right there. And so that's been a really good team building. People in different departments who don't know each other, don't work
Right.
together on a regular basis, get to come together for 6 hours and work on a project. It's also a great way to connect organizations with nonprofits. We have continued our relationship with the last 3 years of nonprofits that we worked with, and
So
continue
special.
to support and find ways that we can do other volunteer efforts for them, or do an item drive or something like that. But it's a great way to connect with a nonprofit that you maybe didn't know about or learn more about.
So I love that point, and I'm going to just kind of bring that up because you do have an opportunity sometimes to support financially organizations through the foundation, and how helpful that's been to somebody like you and other funders that participate in Day of Caring, because you may learn about an organization that you didn't know existed in the Valley that you want to support in addition to Day of Caring.
Right. For example, did you know the YMCA is more than just a health center or a gym, a pool,
Right.
a tennis court? They do so much more, and we got to work in the child development area where they have an after-school program,
Yes.
and we got to talk with some of the coordinators and some of their needs, and it was really impactful. As we were vacuuming the carpet and cleaning all the toys, just to talk with them and hear about the needs that they have in that child development area. So I love being able to partner with organizations that we know about, but then we really get to know them.
Exactly. And shout out to Sarah Boyard, who's an excellent director at the YM.
Yes.
And we had her on the show a couple months ago, and just some really good work, some really creative work with sensory kids, and just some real needs for diversity community support. So
Yes.
we love them.
Yes.
The thing I always love and I think about is when you went to the fellowship home. So Kanawha Valley Fellowship Home is one of our
Yes.
sober living homes in the Valley, who's been around for a really long time and does exceptional work that we're honored to be a partner with. But when you went there to, I believe, to paint in their common room,
Yes.
you and your team discovered that they might need a little bit more than paint.
Yes, so we freshened up the living room area. It looked so beautiful after we had finished painting, but the furniture needed a little refreshing. And so we went back to our office and said, what can we do? And we were able to gift them with some funds to spruce up their living room furniture, to make it feel as warm and inviting as the paint job had done. So we're just thrilled to be able to partner with them. And it's interesting because when we went to present the check, several of the associates that had been there that day to paint and volunteer came with us to present the check, and we found out that several of them had family members who had addiction issues, who may have died from addiction, and you just don't know what
right.
causes someone to want to volunteer or give back. And so that was really impactful for me too, to learn more about their stories and why they wanted to volunteer.
Because it just generally comes out organically. The
Yes.
stories are told that
Yes.
impact you, and I think that's part of that huge beauty of what happens at Day of Caring. You know, I've seen it at hospice when we have people go work at the hospice house, and they'll tell us, you know, who they know that has
Right.
died at the hospice house and the great care that they received and how happy they are to come and paint or weed or do whatever. And, you know, those things really do matter. And we're grateful that we have an opportunity to do that. The other thing I want to mention is sort of an aside to Day of Caring, but I think is the example, is when people look at the United Way and they, you know, either say, well, we're funded by them or we're not. And I always tell people, you know, first of all, there's not enough money for us to do all the good that we would love to do, because we raise what we give away, and you're more than familiar with how that works. And so we can only do what we can do, and we try to do that very thoroughly with a process with citizen reviewers and people that go, you know, vet these nonprofits that we partner with, and want to make sure we can always tell Encova that we're doing the absolute best and most that we can with your donor dollar. And all those things are so important. But sometimes organizations apply, and for whatever reason, and there are a multitude of reasons, they don't become an immediate partner to the United Way and a funding source. But we also say to them, now that I know you, I can tell other people about you. And so you want to just speak a minute on Dress for Success and how cool that little situation was for us.
Yes, absolutely. So we are headquartered in Columbus, Ohio, and they have a chapter there of Dress for Success. And we have a lot of people who volunteer with that organization, do item drives, that kind of thing. And we wanted to do something similar. So I reached out to you and I said, we're looking for an organization similar to Dress for Success. And you were like, wait, it's coming. And that was a great moment for us. We had so many female associates really get behind Dress for Success. We were there before the boutique opened in Charleston, helping to set it up. We didn't paint, but we hung
There you
things on
go.
the wall. We
You were
steamed
the
clothes.
worker, the
We
retail
organized.
workers. Yes.
Yes. And every year we've done a Dress for Success item drive, whether it's clothing or whether it's other items that they need when they stop in for their visit. And it's just been a great partnership, and we absolutely love the work that they're doing here in Charleston and in Huntington. And we were able, actually through our foundation, to support them with some footwear.
Yay.
Because steel-toed shoes are not something that people usually donate after they're finished with them, because they are done with
Destroyed,
them.
exactly.
Yeah, so in terms of our safety that we support through our insurance, we were able to provide them with a donation for some footwear.
Super cool.
Yeah.
And again, something people, you know, Jessica, like us at Dress for Success, and like the United Way, and many of us always working towards how can we help people be employed and remain employed, right? That's the
Yes.
goal, is we need to increase our workforce participation. We need to make sure people are prepared and job ready. And you don't think about how much a pair of steel-toed boots cost if you're trying to go to work in one of those industries. And so we just applaud people for thinking outside the box on this is a necessary need, and funders find a way to make that fit in your box, right? That's the value of that. Really appreciate that. The other thing I just want to say, it's not a question, but just feel free to comment on it, is there are some organizations that we know that the minute something happens, they're going to reach out to us and say, what do you need and what can we do? And again, Encova has been that. If it was the Regal Fire or a flood or whatever, it gives me, every time I say Regal Fire, it gives me chill bumps. Might be one of the absolute worst, just small scale but individually touching disasters that we've worked, other than a big flooding episode. But I mean, Encova, you guys mean it when you say you're involved in the community, your team cares about, I mean, I know when I go in the door, it's like, hey, I know you, there's Ruth Ann, there's, you just, it feels like family. And I know that, again, people see stuff or hear commercials and they see Mountaineer ball game or whatever, and you're like, oh yeah, whatever, that's Encova. And this, take a minute if you want to, but to share with people that it really, you do walk the walk and talk the talk. And we couldn't be more grateful. Encova, this will be the second year in a row that you've been our Day of Caring sponsor, and we have a 3-year commitment from Encova, and that matters just on such a large scale to us, but you do that for so many different organizations. And just thank you on behalf of all of our nonprofit community, but thank you and to your team at Encova for what you do.
Thank you. Our associates are amazing. if something like the Regal Fire happens or something else is going on in their particular community, they may reach out and say, hey, can we do something? And within a matter of days, it was unbelievable the number of socks and undergarments that we received from our associates. Some actually outside of the Charleston area shipped them from Amazon to our office, and it is ingrained in us. It is a goal of our company that we reach out and serve our communities, and so our associates just absolutely love to do that.
And you do it very, very well. And so we couldn't even thank you enough. Is there anything you'd like to say about COVA or the United Way that we haven't talked about or I haven't asked you? Just please feel free to do that.
I think one of the things that I really appreciate about the United Way is how you connect people, whether it's organizations like ours who are looking for a volunteer opportunity, or whether it's you connecting an individual with an organization that can help them find shoes or clothing or rent or whatever it is. You are a great connector, and we really appreciate that about you.
Thank you. Well, we tell people we want to be your resource of resources, right? I'm not smart. I know lots of smart people, but we are connected to resources. And so it's not uncommon that our partners do reach out and say, we have an associate who's had a fire, and can we make sure that we have all the resources that we could possibly give them as a fire victim? And because we have a wonderful relationship with Erica Maney and the Red Cross and her team, we can always make sure that they've received the majority and all of the services that they need. So we want to be that connector, and thank you for saying that, because it's a goal we have. We always strive to be that, and sometimes you wonder if it's working, but I appreciate your saying that.
Definitely.
So Sarah Slamick is the best guest ever. Shout out to your dad and your husband who, we should tell that. We have a minute. So as we were walking in today to the studio, and if you're not familiar with where we're at, this is a great chance to say again, thank you to the Library Television Network, but we're in the basement, I guess is what you would call that, lower level of the West Virginia Cultural Center. And it's a beautiful building. And if you don't know, there's a whole full-blown TV studio down here with actually 3 sets, and we're on one of them. But as we were walking in, Sarah said, well, let you tell the story.
Well, this is where I met my husband way back in the day in 1992. I was interning here and he worked here, and we became friends and then lost touch, and then just a few years ago we reconnected, and
here we are.
Here we are.
That's an awesome story.
Yes.
And so Mark still remembers your husband and talks to him apparently even today. So we're grateful for that. And the connections, I do think that's what sets West Virginia apart. We've been doing some trainings with the Nonprofit Association in the last couple of weeks, and we've been Lewisburg and Parkersburg and Wheeling, and everywhere we go in West Virginia, those connections are the same. It's no matter how we disagree on some things, at the end of the day, we're West Virginians, and we're going to do our best to attempt to care for each other.
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
And COVA does a great job of caring for us, so we're grateful.
Thank you.
I will just do a few reminders as we start to wrap up the show. Again, one more time, don't forget your duck. The Great Rubber Duck Race will happen July the 6th. At Haddad Riverfront Park, you'll be able to watch that on the big screen. About 10,000 ducks dumped off the bridge. First prize is $4,000. I can tell you, I just found out yesterday, there's also going to be one of the prizes is going to be meat from Dickinson Gould. Ooh. And so I know I have to think about how I say that, but when we're talking about prizes in a day when inflation has really kind of caused people to have a little angst at the grocery store, we're just super excited that one of those things is going to be from BuzzFood, and so that will be one of the prizes. There'll be lots. The first 10 ducks win a prize in the race, but first place is $4,000. We hope that you can find your way to a duck. You can see us online. Again, super easy to do, and $5. That's the other part, is we really hope everybody finds a way to contribute, right? And so if you can't buy a ticket to Dancing with the Stars, maybe $5 is something you can afford to do. And at the end of the day, you sleep just as good as anybody else does, because United is how we're able to make all of this work. And so it doesn't matter to us. I've said that to people. I took 57 cents one day from a banker. He was like, nobody wants this change. And I'm like, I'll take it. And so we put all that together to go back out into the community. And so nothing's too small. If you haven't bought a duck, we hope that you'll consider doing that. Just to wrap up, since our show is named Day of Caring 2024, a reminder that that does come up the third Wednesday in September. Applications have to be made for either the project part or the part that does the work. So projects or partners, you have to do an application. And then our team really sits down and as Sarah mentioned, you don't have to be great with a chainsaw or box cutters or a paintbrush. In the application, it says to us, tell us a little bit about what you'd like to do. You want to be inside or outside? We had a group say to us last year, I'll do anything you want me to do inside. Please don't make me go outside. One year we sent some folks to a place and they called me and said, I'll do anything but never make me come back here again. So we work really, really hard on the matches, and that's really what we call that. We have match meetings where the Day of Caring project can come in and meet their partner. And again, what Sarah talked about is, I think that's, and I will ask you that, but that is a way you really get to know the leadership, right? Because they're coming, when Captain Dick comes to talk to you about the fellowship home, you get to meet them on a personal level even before the day of the event.
That's right. Yes, they get to tell you a little bit more about the organization and what they do, the heart of it, and then how we'll be contributing as well.
Yeah, everybody's safe. Wear your sunscreen. Maybe some bug spray, depending on what you do.
Right.
We do have trail work, so if that is your thing, we've been working on and with the Meeks Mountain Trail in Putnam County. So we try to have a project in all of our 6 counties. And again, if you're sitting there thinking, gosh, do I qualify or what's it cost? There's no expense to the project. I won't tell you that every now and then, if you're the partner, we don't say, you know, they really need 6 gallons of paint and we don't want to put that burden on the nonprofit. How do you feel about buying 6 gallons of paint? And you've done that multiple times and probably a few other things as well. But that's, you know, something you can bring to the table.
Absolutely, yeah. Bring your work gloves and bring your hard work ethic. That's all they want, really.
Yeah, one year the Charleston Police Department, we were doing some yard work on a senior housing unit, and they called me and they were like, is there any way you can buy me 4 more bags of mulch? Because we're not leaving here. We're not leaving here until this project is complete, and they can't buy it. And so, will you go buy me 4 more bags of mulch? To which I called my husband and said, will you go to Greens and buy 4 more bags of mulch? So we'll do anything to get the project done. So Day of Caring coming up. You can be either a project or a partner. We hope you'll get involved. And, you know, we strive every year to have more volunteers than ever before. We'd love to have that 1,100, 1,200 number of people out there working to better the Kanawha Valley and our 6 county service area. But if you have questions, please call us. I think from the partner side, you can say 6 hours of paying your people is worth every minute of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's great team building. So we hope you'll consider being a part of Day of Caring. The other thing I'll mention quickly is we'll be having tickets on sale for Inside the Huddle, and that's our time with Tony Caridi that people are anxious to see what's coming up with Mountaineer basketball and Mountaineer football. So if you go to our website, you'll be able to access all of those things. So thank you again. Thanks for listening and being our partner and being my friend. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Margaret.
All right, if you need anything, be sure and reach out. The United Way of Central West Virginia or West Virginia 211, your information referral number, 24/7, 365, there to help you meet your basic needs. So not 911, but 211 for help with utility assistance or rental assistance or food insecurity. We want you to reach out and find help in your neighborhood. Until we see you again, I'm Margaret O'Neill with the United Way of Central West Virginia. This is United for Good.